Okay, everybody. Our third video here in which we're trying to factor quadratics with a leading coefficient of 1. I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but basically the leading coefficient is the number out in front. And since you don't see it in all of these cases, it is assumed to be 1. So that's what we mean by leading coefficient is 1. Okay. Each of these are quadratics because they have a highest exponent of 2. Okay, and they're all in the same general form. We posted a few other videos like this and gave some practice out as well. So each of these I'm going to start off the same way. I am going to set up my parentheses. I'm going to have two sets of parentheses because each of these is going to have two terms in it. This will be a binomial times a binomial. Same here and throughout. So I want to remind you that we should always start off with the first and last terms. H squared, so I know I'm going to have h and h because h times h is h squared. Okay, I'm actually going to check my work for this one, but I'm not going to do it for the other three. So what I want to do is I want to ask myself, what are the possible factors of 56? Well, remember on our homework we had like those thought bubbles? So I can have 1 times 56, I could have 2 times 28, 3 doesn't divide into it, 4 actually does, right? It's 4 and 14. 5 doesn't divide into it, 6 to 6, nope, and 7, right? 7 times 8. So now we ask ourselves, we have to choose a pair of these such that the numbers multiply to give us 56, which they all do, but they also have to add to give us 15. So 1 plus 56, no good, no good, no good, aha. 7 plus 8 is 15, so I will have h plus 7, h plus 8, and you could swap these two. I could have had h plus 8 first. Now, just to be sure, just to be clear, I want to show you why this is the same as that, why this product of two binomials is equivalent to this trinomial. H times h is h squared, h times 8 is 8h, 7 times h is 7h, and 7 times 8 is 56. So if you look here in the middle, the numbers add up to 15. The final number multiplies to 56, all right, using 7 and 8. But this is what you would type into IXL. All right, let's head over here. We have some negatives involved, right? So we got to ask ourselves, all right, so the first term we know will be a, right, because a times a is a squared. Now we need our options for 8. So I'm going to stop after the thought bubbles after this, but it's just 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Those are our only options. Now, I need you to ask yourself, right? The signs are important here. This number came from the product of these two, right? So how can I multiply two numbers to get a positive, but add them to get a negative? Well, they both have to be negative, okay? So now I'm going to make sure that they're both negative, because look, negative times a negative is a positive, and if I add two negatives together, it becomes more negative, right? So what I'm going to use here is I'm actually going to use 1 and 8, a minus 1 and a minus 8. Just to be sure, negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. Negative 1 plus negative 8 is negative 9. There's your answer. All righty, let's keep moving, right? Let's head down here. This, for some reason, is a tricky one for people, but let's follow our same procedure. I'm going to look at my first term, which is n squared. So I know that the leading terms are n's. Now let's think about this here, guys. I have a product. Let's always go, first term, then last term. I have a product that's negative. So the only way I can multiply two numbers to get it to be negative is if I have one of each sign. I chose to go plus then minus, but you could switch the two. Now, we've got to ask ourselves, our only options here are 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So we need the sum to be negative 1, right? Because remember, there really is a 1 there, okay? So I'm really thinking we're going to use 2 and 3, right? So if I put 2 here and 3 here, I hope that you see that. Look, positive 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and positive 2 minus 3 or plus negative 3 is negative 1. There's our answer. All righty. Over here, we have 54. So let's think of our options. I have 1 times 54. I have 2 times 27. Let's see. 3 actually works, right? 3 times 20 is 60, right? So I'm going to be 3 times 18. I'll be two threes below that. All right. 4, does 4 Well, divide this by 2 and it gives me 20. Nope, that gives me a decimal. How about 5? No. How about 6? Yes, 6 times 9 is 54. Again, I'm going to start off. Y's out in front because y times y is y squared. Now, again, I have a negative last term here. So I know that I'll put the negative first this time. I know that I have to have one of each because a negative times a positive is a negative. All right. Now, if you notice, though, when you have one of each side, you want to pick the ones that are 3 apart here. So now let's be careful here. I would not put the 9 here and then the 6 here because then I would get a negative 3 here. So I want to make sure that I have the 6 is negative and the 9 is positive. One last time just to check. Negative 6 times positive 9 is negative 54, and 9 minus 6 is 3. We're done. Hope this helps, guys.